Okay, hello. I just wanted to document work that I've been doing on an kind of LLM based file search tool. So this really all came about because I was interested in seeing what my fairly old gaming laptop with a GTX 1650 Ti could do in terms of local LLM work. Yeah, so local AI. Now, I had played around with stuff before. I downloaded Olama and tried a few models, but I couldn't really get anything useful out of it. So it was a kind of one last try at doing something that might be useful before thinking about buying a more powerful machine. So I bought this machine back in something like 2018, 2019. So it's getting on for 7 or 8 years now, 7 or 8 years old. And when I bought it, it wasn't particularly top of the range machine even then. It was kind of a middle range gaming laptop. So, like I say, I tried using some local models, and they were interesting, they were fun, but I never really found I could do something useful with them, really seriously useful with them. So I didn't really try doing much until recently, when I started using Obsidian uh, with my job. Yeah, so I used Obsidian with Claude, and I was basically, like many people, using Obsidian as dumping lots of files. My job involves lots of admin work, and so I was dumping lots of those admin files from network drives onto my machine in Obsidian, and then using Claude to basically organize them and pull information from them in order to fill other documents. Now, I thought, I thought about, well, maybe I could do this locally instead of using my Claude subscription. Um, but I really wasn't convinced that my machine was powerful enough to do anything useful. But I thought I'll play around with it a little bit. I've got the Claude subscription, so why not? Why not just play around with it? So this began as a fork from anything LLM. Yeah, so anything LLM, in case you don't know, anything LLM is basically, this does a lot already. This does quite a lot already. This is an app which you can download and do lots of local AI with it. But just for fun, I just ended up messing around with this, downloading it, and then basically using Claude to build on that and change things. Now, I had in my head this idea of creating, like I say, a LLM or kind of semantic powered file searcher, local file searcher. So instead of searching for files by their file name, using the LLM to power the search, to search for information within the document instead of the actual, instead of necessarily the file name. Yeah. Strikes me that this is a feature that is incredibly useful, certainly in my job, where I have lots of admin, having to memorize file names from thousands of files is kind of difficult, kind of stressful. It's time consuming going through large amounts of files, trying to find a particular file from a particular person or date or whatever. It's much easier, to be able to search for the information in that file. Yeah, so that was my goal. That was my objective. And from then it kind of grew. Now, I've got a lot of information on here that I need to be careful of because it's got names and personal information in it. So I created this test folder, which I'll show you how. So this is the app that I created, Coracle. Really, Claude is doing the heavy lifting with all the coding. It's an Electron-based app. It's a fork of anything LLM, and it's basically file search. Now you have the conventional file search by name up here, and then you also have your semantic file search here. Now, the one reason I actually persevered with this and actually built a fully functional app was because after messing around with the fork of anything LLM, I was actually really surprised that my machine with a 1650 Ti was able to actually do anything useful. I was really astounded by that, and I thought, well, maybe this is actually worth pursuing, because at the time I was thinking maybe I need to get rid of this machine and get something more powerful that I could actually do some local AI work with. So anyway, now the interesting one of the interesting aspects of this was originally I began this project on Arch. I was using Hyperland, and I thought this would be a really nice kind of extension, feature to use with Hyperland. Yeah. Um, and then in the process of trying to do that, trying to build that, one of the surprising things that came out was that Gnome was actually the best place to start, because Gnome by default has local search and was it tiny Spark that do that basically extract full texts from documents, and this is saved in metadata. So I was really surprised when I found this out and switched to working on Gnome. And basically, a lot of what the app does rides on top of Gnome, because Gnome is doing the local search. Gnome is extracting the texts from the files and saving them in its metadata, and the app is actually riding on that. It's basically taking advantage of that, pulling those that extracted text, and then using that as the basis for the semantic search. Yeah, so that gets extracted into a vector database, which the LLM can then actually search. Yeah. Okay, so just to give a simple demonstration of how it works. Actually, before we do that, let's have a quick look. This is kind of like the default. This is the dashboard telling information about what it's using under the hood. Gnome is quite important. Gnome is indexing all the files, and that information is being extracted by the app. It's using a couple of LLMs. One is for embedding summaries into the document, and the other is for the search. Yeah, so Granite is doing the embedding, and the search is all mini LM. Now, the reason I've got two little LLMs here instead of one big one is because my machine is quite limited, and ideally, Granite is very good at doing the embedding. And ideally, I would like to switch to a bigger Llama model, but I'm not sure that my machine can handle it, because I've also got Moondream doing image analysis. It's doing summaries of images. And then OCR scan is being done by Tesseract. So ideally, these LLMs could be replaced by Llama, but my machine probably won't be able to handle it. But I'm going to work towards a build that will actually incorporate that, even if my machine can't handle it. But I do want to kind of consolidate that into one LLM instead of several. Now, also, so the way the app works is that file previews are generated. Now, that isn't done by the LLM. That's done by the app. The app generates a preview of every file. Yeah, so text, images. Yeah, there's a little preview. It pulls a little preview. It's using Node, using no, I can't remember what the Node library is, but it's using Node to do that. Let's go back to the test folder. Here we go. So yeah, so what it does is you can click on a file and index. Sorry, my watch is going off. It does. It will do an AI analysis of this image. Yeah. Now there is a kind of throttling kind of tick slider here because it does have to use the GPU now, and my machine is quite limited, so I needed to control that. Although to be honest with you, actually now it seems to be doing fine with this. So I've got it on. It has a break between in between the LLMs and the image analysis. It takes a bit of a break so that the machine doesn't overheat. And also, I didn't want to create an app which would, if people downloaded it and used it, it would lock your machine up for hours just doing image analysis and text analysis. So that's a way to control it. So you can turn the slider right up to like a minute and a half or something like that. Let's go back to the folder. So here we go. Here's the text analysis. It's done there. It's done a little summary. And once it's generated that, you can then use the semantic search to actually search for the file in terms of the information that's in it. Yeah. So again, it's got a few more. You can see here are the document previews. It does a little preview of the document, and then it takes the text extraction from Gnome, and it puts that into a vector database. Now it only takes the first, I think it's 8,000 words from a document. The reason for that was that the summaries were, like an entire novel or entire document summary isn't necessarily going to be a good summary. So the main thing was to get the main information from the document, which is usually in the first part of the document, and then also important keywords, dates, and names. Yeah, so that was the important thing. Okay.